Please join me in welcoming Libby Wildman.
Hello. So I made the mistake of not wearing a belt or a jacket or anything that they could attach a microphone on, so I've got to use this today. I hope you all had some coffee. All of my ideas have been taken, so I've got 18 minutes of telling my father's really bad jokes. So anybody who needs to leave because you've all heard them before, now's your chance. Anyway, I can't believe we've got, I guess, out there and in here, 1,200 agents and advisors. This just reminds me so much of the old Ontario Sales Congress, and I thank you to Lawrence and Jim and Serge for putting this on again and bringing us all together to share ideas, because it's a lonely business. I have to say hello to my mom and dad, too, because just like in senior kindergarten when I was doing the poem contest, they're both here to listen to me today. Thanks. My dad's in the business, so he needed the credits, but my mom came in and she has to sit beside him, too. So anyway, I also have to say, I feel so young. I'm only 28 years in the business, not 54 or 46, and some of you may know I'm looking for my third husband, and so far the only person to tell me I look good in a dress is 82, and he's happily married. The only problem I have with my speech today is being called a master, because I do not feel like a master. I struggle still frequently with creating a successful business every year. Like all of you, I hate prospecting, or maybe not like all of you, but I hate prospecting. I find it difficult. Being in this business can be a grind often, and trying to make each year a better year than the year before. So the 10 ideas I've put together for you today are actual ideas and practices that I use. I modify them when need be, but hopefully you can pick up something that might help you along the way to build your business the way you want it to be. So, number one, find something you like in every client that you sit with. I mean, honestly, if you don't like the people you're sitting in front of, fire them or disengage. What are the chances of you sitting with somebody, and if they don't like you and you don't like them, of them actually taking the advice from you and buying from you? I think very slim to nil. Now, having said that, one of the things that I've learned to do is to find something I like about everybody. If you really listen to someone's story and get to know that person on the inside, it's pretty hard not to find something that you like about that person. But truly, if some of the other speakers have talked about, they meet somebody where they're not a quality prospect or whatever it is you want to call it, walk away from them. Use your time helping people that you like and who like and admire you. The first meeting is always a fact find, getting the hard facts and the soft facts. And this is very important, because unless you get agreement to a problem and you get clarity around a client's problem, there is no point to moving on to the solution. You all saw the triangle that was up here before. Far too often we go in and are just trying to sell from a ledger sheet or hope that a client will think that our idea is a neat idea and just buy something. The second meeting is also a fact find often. I remember when my father, Libby Wildman, and I used to do a lot of joint meetings together, he'd say to me, "Okay, Lib, is this a fact find, a fishing trip, or a close?" Well, first of all, my dad used to say to me, "I know it's a close because you got your closing blouse on today." But anyway, we're not allowed to do that anymore. So the second meeting was often what we called a fishing trip, because I'd go to the first meeting, do the fact find, I'd come down and go over the fact find with my dad, and he'd say, "You don't know what this guy's problem is. You don't know what his real issue is." And I'd say, "You're right." So we would go back and do a fishing trip. We would redo the fact find and ask more questions until we figured out what the prospect's real issue was. Because again, unless you could isolate, clarify, and get agreement to the problem by the client, there was no point in moving on to the solution. Oh, it's supposed to be there. Being vulnerable is in. Being authentic is in. If you read a lot of blogs about management styles, you'll know that now the CEOs of the largest corporations are being encouraged to not just surround themselves by yes men and to share of themselves. And when you're sitting with prospects and clients and asking them all of the personal questions that we should be asking, it would behoove you to also find the appropriate time to share things with them. I have often shared many personal things that have happened in my life. My clients know about my divorces. My clients know about my children. They know about illnesses. And I have to say that it absolutely helps them to open up to me. Have your own financial house in order. So June 19th, 2012, after 5 days of not being able to breathe and pretty much crying in about 5 different doctor's offices, I thought I'd broken a rib. I'd seen a chiropractor, and he tried to fix my ribs, and it was so painful I cried. I went to see a couple of different doctors, and after a couple of nights of sitting up in bed and truly not being able to sleep because the pain was so excruciating and I couldn't breathe, and you would say to me, well, why wouldn't you go to the doctors? But I was a single mom, and I have 3 kids at home, and 2 of whom are teenagers. And my one son was in the middle of exams, and he had an 8 in history. Yes, that would be 8 out of 100. He had a 32 in geography, and I think a 48 in math. And I just didn't think it would be great timing in the middle of exams if I left a note, "Dear Jack, I'm at the hospital. Good luck with your exams today." That, and I was worried that there might be a grow-up on my back deck if I was in the hospital for a few days, since there'd be nobody at home. Anyway, I finally decided to go and see my GP, and she said to me, "I think you've broken a rib." I said, "Okay, I don't know, wasn't partying this weekend, I don't know how I broke a rib," but so off I go to Mount Sinai Hospital, and I'm lying in a gurney in the hallway, and I knew it was bad when my best friend showed up in the hallway, and I just kept saying to her, "Please don't call my mom. I'm here for 6 hours. I don't need my mom sitting beside me worrying for 6 hours." Anyway, it turned out I had acute bilateral pulmonary emboli, which means both my lungs were full of blood clots, and it's instant death. So I didn't have to worry about, long-term issues as to how I'd look after myself, because you're either here or you're not. Fortunately, it was an easy fix. Once they found out what the problem was, I was on blood thinners for a while, and I'm fine. But my point to you is, have your own financial house in order. As I shared with you, I'm a single mother of 3 kids and bring them up on my own. And as I lay there thinking, what does my will say? Who are my trustees? How long ago was it that I addressed all of this? How much life insurance do I have? Because if it's not enough, well, A, Dad, you're going to be chipping in. But B, after the case, I've shut that door for quite a long time before I'm going to be able to get more life insurance. I surely cannot get any critical illness or disability. So fortunately, I had, probably because of my divorce a few years beforehand, really re-looked at all of this and how I wanted everything to be set up for myself and my children. But your clients can tell if you are sitting there and you're trying to talk to them about wills. And if they sit and say to you, well, what have you done? They can tell if you haven't got your own financial house in order. So not only is it a great learning experience to have to sit with a lawyer and pay the bills and be asked all the difficult questions, but it allows us to be confident when we're sitting in front of our clients and we're asking them to do all these things that we've done it ourselves. This has been talked about quite a few times today. There's teachers all around us. I truly believe that the teacher will find the student, and I encourage all of you, it doesn't have to be a study group. I did that for a while. I'm not in a study group any longer, but there are numerous ways to find teachers. Sometimes they're strangers, sometimes it's a friend, sometimes it's even a sales manager at an insurance company. But I do encourage you to find somebody that keeps you motivated in this business, because it is difficult. I think my father and I used to say, or Dad used to say to me, that at 1 year, 3 years, and 5 years, maybe it was 6 months, 1 year, 3 years, and 5 years, was how often you were going to want to quit the business. And I would, like clockwork, stand in the doorway of his office, because he ran an agency with Ralph Simmons for London Life. Like clockwork, stand in the doorway of his office, and he'd look up and say, "What's up, Lib?" He'd look me in the eyes, and he'd say, "Shut the door." And I'd go into his office, sit down in the chair, and start to cry my eyes out and say, what the heck am I doing in this business? It's so tough. So look for some teachers. Always have your next vacation planned. If you do not take time off, you will end up taking time off on the job. You will get burnt out. When I was at KLU a few weeks back, I said, honest to goodness, I cannot believe how competitive it is in this room as to who has been where. It is such a fabulous business that we're in that we can take as much time off as we want, make as much money as we want, work whatever hours that we want, whether that's the weekends, night, or day. But if you do not take time off, you will get burnt out. The other thing about planning a vacation is it gives you something fabulous to look forward to as you're working so hard to get there. Practice gratitude in your life and work. I am such a big believer in this. So many of us are stressed about money and our kids, but 85% of the world is working every single moment of the day just to put food on the table. We lead such abundant lives compared to most of the world. And our brain is programmed to answer whatever questions it asks. So here's an example. If I said to you, why is the sky blue? Your brain immediately starts to come up with that answer. So if you say to yourself, why am I having such a lousy month? Why am I not making any money? Why does nobody seem to want to refer to me? Your brain is going to start to say all these negative things to you. Instead, like many of our speakers, if you can say to yourself, why do all these clients open up to me and share such fabulous things with me? Why did I end up in such an incredible business where I can be the only one that shows up with a check and truly solves some big problems for somebody? Ask yourself positive questions. Train your brain to be happy and to feel grateful about the lives that we're leading and living in this country, in this city, and in this business. Activity tracking. Richard Cooper talked a little bit about this. I believe it was Frank Crean and my father, Robbie, and Ralph Simmons who brought this from the United States up to here. But I still use this, and activity tracking, again, is not for your manager or your boss, it's for us. If you think about it, if somebody is running the 100-yard dash, if they do not keep track of how fast they're going, how the heck are they going to know if they beat themselves the next time? We have to keep track of our numbers, and it will also help you to plan for your following year to be even better than this year when you understand what your numbers are. And the numbers are the same pretty much no matter how long you've been in the business. Now, if you keep track of your numbers and they're different, then follow your own numbers. But basically, if you dial the phone 25 times, you should be reaching 8 people. If you reach 8 people, you should make 4 appointments. Out of the 4 appointments, 2 will keep. Out of 10 people, out of 10 fact finds, you should get 3 cases open. And a case open is business to follow within 30 days. So you get 10 fact finds, 3 cases open, 1 close. If your numbers are different, maybe take a look at what time you're calling people. If your numbers are different, maybe take a look at, are you saying the right thing on the phone? If your numbers are different, maybe take a look at, was it really a case open, or was I just fudging that to make myself feel better? But the fabulous thing about keeping track of numbers is when you have a month and you go, I made no money, and you look back 3 months earlier, you can say, it's because you weren't seeing anybody. It's not because you're lousy at this business or you don't know what you're doing. It's because you weren't seeing the people, seeing the people, seeing the people. So it allows you to have the confidence to know what your planning for this year can be, and when you want to have an even better next year, how you can plan for that. And if any of you don't know, you can go. I just bought it for a new guy who's going to join our office. I just went online and bought all the old Granum stuff. It hasn't changed at all. If anybody needs help with how to keep track of your dialings and all that, I'm happy to help you. But if you go on the website, it's all there. Prospecting. I had Mark from Quebec, Loisel. Anyway, he asked me about prospecting. I said, I'm terrible at it, I hate it, and I don't do it. So I do everything the hard way. One of the things I learned from Peter Crean is if I'm going to see a lawyer in a particular law firm downtown, I will look up 3 or 4 other lawyers who work in that law firm, And through LinkedIn, Google, whatever it is, I'll find out as much as I can about them and decide if I would like to see them. When I go and see my client who works in the law firm, I'll say to that client, let's say his name is Lori. I'll say, Lori, next week I'm calling Jim Smith. Do you mind if I say that we know each other so I don't come across as a complete stranger? I'm not asking Lori if I can call this guy who's a colleague or a partner of his. I'm saying, do you mind if I say that we know each other or that we've done business together? And invariably, Lori is happy about that. And if I find that he's comfortable, then I'll say to him, hey, would you mind sending him an email just to introduce me? Would you mind saying that I've done a good job for you? And invariably, he's fine with that as well. Often I'll look in the newspapers, and if there's an article about somebody that I want to get introduced to, I will, through social media or whatever it might be, find somebody I know that knows that person, and again, call them up and say, hey, I'm going to be phoning Joe Schmo next week. Do you mind if I say that we know each other? So if you like prospecting, awesome. Ask for referrals and do it. If you don't like prospecting, you've got to figure out some other way to do it. And this is how I've been doing it over the last little while. Again, money is energy. And I truly believe this. Money is energy. The more you give it away, the more it comes back to you. When Sir John A. Templeton was asked what is the best financial advice he'd ever been given in life, it was to give away 10% of his revenues. I'm sure lots of you are asked all the time to give money to charities by your friends and colleagues and clients. I will pretty much give anybody $100. But a couple of years ago, one of my coaches worked with me and around this whole Sir John A. Templeton situation or idea, philosophy, and I decided I wanted to give away 10% of my revenues. But I didn't want to do it to where I was obligated. I wanted to do it where I feel spiritually fed. So now I feel very excited about giving away 10% of my revenues. When I get a paycheck, I look at it and I know I need to get rid of 10% of it in the next couple of weeks. And I think back over the last couple of weeks and I think, who did I run into? Who did I meet? What did I hear about that spiritually touched me? Quite frankly, it might have been the shampoo girl. Gave a great scalp massage and she gets $30 from me today. But it might also be, I met a mom who lost her daughter at age 6 to heart disease, and she was starting up her first annual bike-a-thon in Oakville in memory of her daughter. And I was so touched by randomly meeting her and hearing her story that I became one of her major sponsors. But the point is that I'm now very excited about giving away money. And I find, even on those months where maybe I don't have as much money that I would like to give away, I still do it because I believe that it comes back tenfold. I conduct lunch and learns, which is great if you have younger associates, to stand up in front of people who already know and trust you. Invariably, after you speak at a lunch and learn, there's a lineup of people who want to talk to you, and I encourage you to do that. That's another great way to meet people. So my time is up. Thank you very much.